And now it's time for Carside Questions, the part of Everyday to Exotic where the community takes the lead. Alex and Amy, first question. So most people tend to collect cars from when they were kids. A lot of the cars in the collection are older than you are. What's the reason for that?
A lot of it for me comes down to sort of what cars are cool when I was a kid. Well, there really weren't that many when I was growing up in the 80s. Frankly, it was the malaise era. There were a few really nice examples that kind of stood out, but not that many. However, at the same time, you look at the cars that predated that, and most of them are just absolutely gorgeous. Beautiful shapes, classic lines, great sounding engines, great performance. Maybe not the safest car in the world. That was sort of what led to the malaise era, was environmental and safety concerns. But at the same time, they were just absolutely stunningly beautiful and different. And I think a big part of it for me really is that difference. It just doesn't look like the cars that you tend to see now. But at the same time, they're truly works of art.
When I was old enough to start noticing cars, they all kind of looked the same. And also my parents drove minivans. I may have mentioned that.
My parents drove minivans. They were very boring. Not my parents, the cars. Cars were very boring. Just to be clear.
I wasn't that interested in car culture. I wasn't that interested in cars. And now I look at cars from when I was growing up and still kind of go, eh. But as Alex pointed out, the cars from the 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, even up through the 70s, they were all unique, they were all different. Car manufacturers were trying different things to attract people's attention, and I really, really like that.
Okay, second question, a bit of a follow-up. A lot of car culture of the cars that you're collecting tend towards people who are going to be significantly older than you. What's it like to have a collection but be a lot younger?
Actually, we get along very well with car people of kind of every age. We've actually found that age really hasn't factored in that heavily, which has been great. So we belong to several car clubs, some of which we're some of the youngest members in the club, even given our age. And we have friends who are in their 80s. We have friends who regale us with stories of growing up in Britain during World War II, things along that line. I mean, these are people who are quite a bit older than we are. At the same time, they're wonderful people. They're great people that we've met, people that we still consider our friends, even independent of cars.
Being around older people has not been at all an issue. I love it, again, because of the stories, but there's also a concern in car culture that this hobby's gonna die out.
Absolutely.
It's not that younger people aren't interested in cars, it's that they don't have a lot of opportunities to experience anything with a stick shift, for instance. That is a smaller demographic of people who are interested in that. It used to be you had to pay more for an automatic, now you have to pay more for a stick.
I mean, it's hard to justify buying a classic car when at the same time you're trying to figure out how to buy a house. That's actually a big part of it, I think, for a lot of people, is that it's very hard to justify the expense of owning and maintaining a classic car when you're younger. We're in kind of an unusual situation that's allowed us to amass the collection that we have and to enjoy it and to continue working on it. But for a lot of people, that's just not really an option.
Yeah. But my main point is that the older generation or the people who are established in the car culture have been incredibly welcoming. They're excited to see us, and that feels really good.
I mean, we've occasionally run into issues where there are some assumptions made. I mean, the classic one is, of course, there's a man and a woman, and they've got a collection of cars. It's the guys. It's all the guys. The woman doesn't care. She'd rather go quilt or something along that line.
Yes. Not that there's anything wrong with quilting.
Or knitting.
Or knitting. Why not both? But most people that we've talked to, though, have quickly adjusted their assumptions. The minute that I start talking about my part of the collection, they're like, ooh, it's not a ugh reaction. They're excited to include me, as opposed to going, no, you need to go over there with the other women.
That really is the case, is that this collection isn't mine, it's ours. And there are parts of the collection I never would have bought if it were just me. There are parts of the collection Amy never would have bought if it were just her. So it really is our collection, but there are things that are really unique to each of us. And that, I think, is part of what makes it great and makes it, if anything, more eclectic.
Alex, Amy, thank you for your time. If you want to ask Alex and Amy your own questions, be sure to write them in the comments section below, and maybe they'll get featured in the next episode of Carside Questions. Finger guns.